Good evening. I'd like to call to order the town council meeting. Catherine, would you like to read the remote considerations?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we have Councilmember Haskell attending remotely under the Brown Act rules for teleconferencing. Councilmember Haskell is participating from the Beekman Hotel, room 720, 123 Nassau Street, New York City. And I want to note for the record that we have a quorum of council members here present in person, which is a requirement of the Brown Act. And that Councilmember Haskell's location has been identified in the agenda for tonight's meeting. And now I'm just going to go through a little script with Councilmember Haskell to confirm a few matters for the record. Councilmember Haskell, can you hear me okay?
I can.
And were you able to hear the proceedings up until now?
I have.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Yes.
And have you posted the agenda at the location where you are?
Yes.
And is your location reasonably accessible to the public such that any member of the public could participate in this teleconference from your location if he or she wished to do so?
Yes.
And is there any member of the public there with you now?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so with that, I'd like to advise the council that any votes taken this evening during the teleconference portion must be taken by roll call. And now the clerk may go ahead and proceed with the roll call.
Councilmember Walter. Councilmember Haskell.
Here.
Councilmember Flynn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hufty.
Present.
Mayor Taylor.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the report out from the recent closed session. Catherine, is that something you want to say a quick word on?
Yes, thank you. The council met in closed session on Monday to conduct a closed session regarding the 8-month check-in performance evaluation of the town manager. There is nothing to report out. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to presentations and proclamations. So let me pull up my little thing here. So thank you for being here. So we're honored to present this proclamation, which I have signed, to the Conservation Committee. This is one of the town's most dedicated and helpful committees, so we appreciate all your work. Since incorporation, the council has remained deeply committed to the founding mission of preserving the natural beauty and wildlife of our. And I would say that that really is one of the special properties of Portola Valley, is the sort of natural environment. And you guys have always done a great job, along with some of the other committees, of really helping us maintain. So thank you. So, you guys have been thoughtful in your stewardship, and you basically, I've, through Open Space Committee and other things, seen all the work the Conservation Committee does. So we are very happy to make this proclamation to you, and I'm hoping that you'll actually say something about the California Native Plant Month in addition. So who's going to speak tonight? Judith. So please come up to the mic. Why don't you say stuff? Then I'll give you the proclamation. We can all stand around and shake each other's hand and pat each other on the back, and then we'll go on.
You don't read the whereases first?
I usually,
The order.
if you would really like me to read the whole thing, I can.
don't care. I just want to make sure I do everything right, since
Yeah.
that's so
No,
important
no,
these days.
I usually, it's in the record, so I usually don't go through all the whereases, but
No, you don't need
if
to
you would
go.
like it, I can do it.
No.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor Taylor. I'm happy to accept this on behalf of the many hardworking members of the Conservation Committee. Our work is basically never one and done. It's ongoing and evolving. The pressures of state regulations, wildfire risk, and the demands of modern life make preserving the beauty and the ecosystems of our valley increasingly challenging for us, for you. Native plants are the foundation of it all. They support the landscapes we value and the complex web of life that depends on them. So April is California Native Plant Month, decreed by the state and now by you. Conservation has planned a number of educational activities all through this month to celebrate the month, working not just with ourselves, but the library, other committees, other organizations. So I'm going to run through a quick kind of list of some of the things we've done. We created a series of posts exploring various useful and interesting aspects of native plants that'll be posted weekly on the forum and also on the town update. We're helping to publicize the native plant-related activities of other local groups, the Going Native Garden Tour of the California Native Plant Society, for example, and some grassroots ecology things. The Portola Valley Garden Club, which is the small local dirty fingernail garden club in town, held its April meeting at a marvelous local garden that is 95% native plants. And we're sorry if you missed the lovely display of wildflowers that we had at the farmer's market last Thursday. We had lovely weather and many wildflowers that came out of Nona's garden primarily that are locally blooming. We were planning on being there last Thursday and this Thursday, but since it's going to rain tomorrow, we're bailing on tomorrow. We didn't have as much traffic there as we thought we would, you know, at Earth Day and at Picnic Day, we're kind of mobbed when we have that display. And I think it's because everybody was sort of on an errand to get their scones and get out. So, but I want to invite you and people in the audience to other things that are happening locally here. The library has its monthly featured bookshelf rack near the entry devoted to books about native plants all month. And in that is a brochure that the committee produced several years ago that you folks have seen on the native planting here at Town Center with the numbered beds and the photos that match the beds. One of the things we're really hoping happens in the next couple of years after we get some financial footing back is that we're able to improve those beds. They've deteriorated pretty badly in the last few years. And we've created a QR code so that people who see the library and see the sample of the brochure can download that and have it themselves for reference if they want. That's our new high-tech adventure as we've created QR codes to match a lot of the documents that we've done. That's thanks to our newest member. The upcoming Cultural Arts Committee photo exhibit and photo contest is going to have a native plant category. We worked with them to get that. So submit a photo. We can't win, you can't win, but submit a photo. So they have a lot of nice photos. They're going to hold that exhibit in the community hall, and they're going to have an opening night with all the exhibits. And then all weekend, if you come and see the photos, you get to vote. So the winners will be determined by the community who's actually come to the exhibit, which is a really nice idea. We have wildlife-focused hikes at Jasper Ridge. That one's already full. Nona's leading one of those. And at Huddard Park, there's one on April 15th that Marion Plunder is going to be along as pointing out the wildflowers. Ladera Garden Center has organized a table dedicated to California native plants. I went down and twisted Juan's arm to do that. And Brooke Coffey, our local school teacher, garden guru, is including native plants in her curriculum all month. So see what your kids and your neighbors' kids are learning in school this month. So we're grateful for the council's continued direction and support. We appreciate it very much as we work to protect what we can and try to adapt our efforts to meet the challenges ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, it certainly has become more challenging as the years have gone on, but I think it's, you know, it is a core value of the town. So if you would stand up, we'll give you the proclamation, and I'd say we've done this before. The whole council will stand with you. Picture, it'll be special. The other thing I would
It's
recommend
free.
is, since I don't read these proclamations typically, is please do look at the proclamation. I mean, there's a lot of good, you know, whereases that within.
No. I hope that there would be more of the committee members here, but for various reasons, they're not. Hold on. Oh, up here. Okay, here you go. Oh, there you go. All right.
Flowers, plants.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the town manager's report. Darcy, welcome back from vacation.
Yay.
Hello. Yes, thanks. Oh, so some exciting events coming up in addition to the Native Plant Month events. So there'll be a community coffee event with Assembly Member Mark Berman and our very own Mayor Craig Taylor this Friday, April 11th at 8:30 a.m. in the town center. There's also a community cleanup coming on April 25th. So please clean up and for your chipper day soon. We are recruiting for our town committees, including a rare vacancy on the Architectural and Site Committee Commission. So please apply for that if you're interested. We'll hold interviews tentatively in May. And last, as it was mentioned, the PV Cultural Arts Committee is running a photo contest and entries are due April 10th. And then will be on display in the town center. So please help with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Okay, now I'd like to move to oral communications, which can be comments on anything we've done so far or anything that's not on the rest of the agenda. So is there anybody in the schoolhouse that would like to have oral communication? Please come up to the mic, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Bob Adams, I don't think I'll need 3 minutes.
Welcome, Bob.
Thanks. I wanted to let you know that the pickleball community is pretty energized on seeing if we can get courts on, get the court project going. And two things were happening from that. The reason I was asking about the funding and the fund is to find out what the limitations are. And I will talk to John Goulden about that to understand. But there are some people that are excited about doing the fundraising, and we have 3 people volunteered to be head of the fundraising committee, which is amazing, and they are very good people. So it's interesting. The second, is, my hope is that you will have a work study session on the court project, that we can actually get a court project that you guys all agree to and we agree to and that we understand. So the sooner we can have a conversation about that, the better, because then we can do the bid, the funding, and all the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody online with their hand up?
Yes, 2 people online.
Let me get connected here. Okay. Okay, so online, first one, Ellen, welcome.
Excuse me, yeah. I was just calling in to check to see if you were aware that West Bay Sanitary has, to a number of people, sent out past due notices and that are now charging double yearly sewer fees for having a small ADU that have no additional sewer lines connected. And at this time, that's an additional $1,440 a year that we'll be paying. They're also back billing us 5 years for an additional $6,652. I'm just in shock. Now, the town never brought up, when we did our ADU, the town never brought up any additional fees regarding sewer service. And I was just wondering if I can expect that this would affect new ADUs that people are going to want to be built, because I think they're also going to be charging additional connection fees, even though you may not be connecting to a whole new sewer line to the street. And I would like to know, would the town be willing to challenge these fees? I mean, they're exorbitant. It's ridiculous that adding on a little 1-bedroom ADU is going to be a double charge, much less back billing for 5 years. I mean, you can build a brand new house in Portola Valley with 6 bathrooms and 2 kitchens, and it's still only going to be charged 1 sewer line charge. Where for a small house like mine, and then I add an ADU, I'm paying double. So I really just don't think this is fair whatsoever, and I would wonder who in town could challenge West Bay Sanitary on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, this sounds like something we should look into. All right. Excuse me. Next up is Rita. Welcome, Rita.
Hi, thank you for taking my comment, and the proclamation is much deserved. They really do a great job in keeping the community informed. Once again, a lot of the community was out of power this past weekend, and for a while. And yeah, it had to do with something in Menlo Park, but we really need to, as Ellen just said, pull together a group to work on our utility issues that we have. And I would really like if perhaps in the town manager's report or in the town report that's put online, each time to have an update on the status of the financials and the audits. Once before, it was promised to us that every time someone was talking about a new contract or a new cost or something, it would be talked about with the view of how it affects our finances in relation to financial numbers and audit. So I hope moving forward, we can do something like that. And thank you for taking my comment.
Thank you, Rita. Is there anyone else in the schoolhouse or anyone else online? All right, so I see no one in the schoolhouse. I see no hands up online, so I'm going to close oral communications. Okay. So next up is the consent agenda. So, I mean, this is sort of awkward. I think it makes sense in the consent agenda to ask if there's any public comment on the consent agenda. Then I'll ask the council members whether there are any consent agenda items you'd like to pull, and then we'll actually go through the process. So from the public, are there any consent agenda items that you would like to just basically comment on? So I see no one in the schoolhouse and I see no hands online. So I'm going to close public comment on the consent agenda. So fellow council members, is there anybody who wants to pull a consent agenda item?
Could I pull C, 7C, the farmer's market?
Okay,
Please.
7C, yes.
That was the same one I was going to pull. Thank you.
Okay, good, done. Judith, anything from you? Just because
No.
you're remote? Okay, great. All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve 7A and B.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call?
Councilmember Walter,
Aye.
Councilmember Haskell,
Aye.
Councilmember Flynn,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Huffty,
Aye.
Mayor Taylor.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. All right, so 7C is pulled. Rebecca, why don't you start since you pulled
Yeah,
it,
I just
and
sort of had a question on process, not really the word, but instead of rewriting the whole thing as a brand new contract, instead we have the old contract and then we have the amendment next to it. I found that really confusing for a contract to read through it. So I'm just wondering why it was done that way.
Catherine, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I think it's basically could be either way. Overall, the contract was in good shape and required only minor amendments. And so this is, I think, a bit of a standard practice when it's a pretty minor amendments to an agreement. But it's not necessarily, it's not legally required one way or the other.
Because as you read through the contract, you start at the beginning, you read the old stuff, including all the stuff that's no longer current. And then you go to the next one and you have to kind of go back and forth to see what was changed. So I personally would have rather had redlined or something. I don't know. I would rather had one contract that was full, but maybe it saves us money.
Uh, Let me know when I can talk, Craig. I'll wait for you.
Sure, just hang on a sec. Is that it?
Mhm.
That's it,
Thank
yep.
you. Helen, why don't I let you go next since you were gonna potentially pull it, and then Judith, I'll come to you.
I just wanted to say I'm actually going to vote against this and the reason why. I was visiting family this last weekend and my cousin, it turns out he's just opened some vendors. I was in Denver and the regular farmer's market doesn't open for a few weeks and there are like lambs that have been ready to be sold, the meat and such. And so he just opened up a farmer's market in his backyard. And so he has 15 vendors in his backyard that he like is hosting. And then in a few weeks, they'll go into the regular. So I just can't, I know we don't have the money to do an RFP right now, but I just don't feel comfortable supporting this currently because of the lack of San Mateo County local vendors. So I wanted to explain why I was be voting against it. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen. Judith?
Yeah, I do think I'll defer to Catherine, but from my perspective, this is a pretty normal type of amendment. And while confusing, I don't know that we would normally look at the actual contract. We'd give direction to the town attorney to execute. So from my perspective, it's pretty ordinary course for whatever that's worth.
Okay, thank you. And I think the only comment I'd make is if you have comments for Good Roots that you think could help them, because he seemed like he wanted to be helpful. I agree with you. It didn't seem like we were getting everything we wanted. So maybe you can help him along. Maybe we can get what we want. So.
It sounded like he didn't have local contacts and I'm happy to provide those too.
Great.
But in the meantime, I will be voting against this.
No worries about, yeah, I think if you could provide that, it seems anything we can do to help them. So, okay, great. All right, I would look for a motion on 7C.
Motion at 7C, motion to approve.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Walter,
No.
Councilmember Haskell,
Aye.
Councilmember Flynn,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hefty,
Aye.
Mayor Taylor,
Aye.
motion carries 4-1.
Okay, that ends the consent agenda. Now we're going to move on to the regular agenda. We're going to receive information and provide direction to staff for fiscal year 26-27 for the operating budget with a focus on expenditures. And Tony, I assume you're presenting since you're sitting up ready to go.
You assume correctly.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Tonight's item is a review of the 26-27 expenditure budget. And this is, we started this process last year with 25-26 and in our ongoing practice of educating the town on its financials, and tonight we'll be looking at the expenditure side of things. So basic overview, we're going to review the departments and the funds, and then we'll move into some of the major expense categories, and then give it back to council for discussion and direction on 2 items. So to begin with, the town has 22 total functions separated by department numbers. The administration category, as you can, there are 6 department numbers under administration related to town council, town committees, town manager, the attorney, town clerk, and finance. Public safety is our police services, fire services, and dispatch services. Planning and building, which is our planning division, building division for the clients, and our customer deposits, which fund our project applicants. Recreation, which consists of the community hall and parks and fields maintenance. Public works, which is roads, facilities, and development services. Non-departmental, that is basically most of our overhead is booked to that department. Road maintenance districts, we have 4 of them. These are special districts for neighborhoods in the town. We act as custodians of these funds. They pretty much tell us when to spend it and what their budgets are going to be. And then capital projects, we have roads and right-of-way improvements, parks and fields improvements, open space improvements, and facilities and buildings improvements. So looking at the town funds, we have 19 active funds broken up into 5 categories. The main one is our general fund, which is our basic operating fund. Then we have several special revenue funds. And these are special revenue funds because there are special revenue sources that are outside of the purview of the general fund. Those include grants, public safety sales tax, public safety cops grants, open space, the library fund, gas tax, Frog Pond, Measure A, M, and W, and then the Park and Lieu and Inclusion and Loop. We have 1 fund for capital projects, and as I stated earlier, we have 4 funds for the best special districts and 1 fund for the customer deposits for the applicant budget. So looking at the sources and uses for each fund, the general fund is primarily funded through taxes and fees. About 76% of the revenue is generated from taxes, the rest from fees. And the general fund is used for general operations. And not to go through every fund, but as you can see, we have 2 funds set aside for public safety, and that's restricted to sheriff or police services. And we also have several funds used for transportation, including gas tax, Measure A, Measure M, and Measure W. And the capital projects fund is actually funded through transfers from the general fund. So looking at our major expense categories, salaries and benefits, which is about 40% of our general fund budget. Contract services, which includes the sheriff, Woodside Fire, dispatch services, and also consultants. Supplies and maintenance, which are basic operating needs. Capital improvements, and then any transfers that we have. So in review of the council priorities, number 1, financial responsibility and long-term viability. These were all voted upon at the council study session that we had a few weeks back. Number 2 is safety. Number 3 is operational efficiency and effectiveness. Number 4 is responsible land use. Number 5 is community. And number 6 is environmental sustainability. So these are the priorities that are going to be used to help build the 26-27 budget. So looking at salaries and schedule, this is the 25-26 salary schedule, which was adopted by council last year. We will be bringing the 26-27 salary schedule throughout the budget process. And for this particular item, we will need council direction on whether to include a COLA and to build in merit increases into the salary schedule. And from there, we will use that to develop the budget workforce plan for the budget. The budget currently includes funding for 15.5 full-time equivalents, or FTE. We're currently recruiting for a development review technician and the assistant town manager position. But as you can see, most of the other positions are filled. And then we have the 0.5 is the temporary help that we have manning the front desk. And again, these FTEs will be approved by council as we go through the budget process. We are currently reviewing organizational structure. And if we have any recommendations to increase FTE, we'll bring that to council. So looking at the cost of living adjustments, this chart shows the CPI index for the 12-month period ending February from 2022 through 2026. Over the 5-year period, it's averaged about 3.6%. Each year, council has granted a COLA increase that matches the increase each year. We're recommending a 3% COLA increase, and the cost of that would increase salaries by $63,000 for 26-27. But looking at the a 2% increase would be 42,000. A 4% increase would be 84,000. So I just put those numbers in for council to consider. But a 3% COLA increase still is less than the average of 3.6% over the last 5 years. Looking at merit increases, employees that would qualify for merit increase are those that are not at the top range in salary. We currently have 11 employees of our 13 currently employed staff. There have been no merit increases in the last 2 budget cycles. Prior to those budget cycles, they were regularly scheduled because we had long-term staff in positions. So it was not necessarily a repeat for every year, but there was a schedule of merit increases for every other year for staff. But in the last 2 fiscal years, and including 23-24, with the staff turnover, our longest tenured staff person, other than Justin and Scott and Cindy, everybody else is here less than 3 years. So that's why no merit increases have been in the budget cycle. Looking at benefits, our benefits that we provide, we have retirement, medical, dental, and vision. This presentation is going to focus mostly on retirement, on medical. The dental and vision costs, there's no major increases, and they're also quite minimal in regards to on the expense side. So they're not really a major impact on the budget. But retirement and medical, every year there's always a switch or a movement, either positive or negative. So in looking at retirement, we provide 2 tiers. There's the classic tier. Classic employees are those who were hired before January 1st, 2013. On January 1st, 2013, the state legislature, actually in November 2012, state legislature adopted PEPRA, which went into effect January 1st, 2013. That created additional tiers, and also the PEPRA retirement ages were extended, even though the formulas were 2%. And so if you look at classic employees, they could retire at 55 with 2% per each year or per year of service. Whereas with a new hire under PEPRA, the retirement age went from 55 to 62. So it's 2% but still receiving the 2% per service year. The employee contribution rate is capped for classic employees at 7%. So employees pay 7% of their salary towards the retirement rate or the contribution rate, excuse me. And then with PEPRA employees, it's 7.75%. The chart you can see from 21-22, the contribution rates each year. They've gone on from 10.34% for classic employees to 11.92% in 26-27, although the 26-27 rate is actually a decrease from the previous year. And part of that is due to the investment returns that CalPERS had. They had about a 12% investment return this past fiscal year, which increased the market value of assets of everybody and helped reduce contribution rates for 26-27. It's not much, but it always helps. And with PEPRA, it went from 7.96% to 7.3%. But looking at total contributions, in 21-22, we had about $176,000 in contributions. 25-26, we're probably going to end up about $150,000. So part of that reason is that in 21-22, most of our employees were in the classic plan. So costs were higher, or the contribution rates were higher, the employer cost was higher. And then since 23-24, with staff turnover, more and more employees are under the PEPRA plan, which is a lower costing plan in regards to contribution rate for the town and the employees. And these contribution rates are determined by CalPERS actuarially every year. So these are the town really has no control over how these rates are set. because we are part of a larger pool. So another part of our retirement is our unfunded accrued liability, and this is the difference between our pension liability and the market value of our assets. Our total accrued liability is a little bit under 11 million. It's 10.97 million, and the market value of assets is 9 million. So our pension liability is 1.97 million. That 1.97 million is then amortized over years. So as you can see from 21-22, the liability has gone, or the UAL payment has gone from $92,000 to $195,000 in 26-27. So we're looking at a $27,000 increase between 25-26 and 26-27. We can elect to do a one-time prepayment before July, but it's $188,000. It's $8,000 savings, but it's just something to consider if you wanted to reduce costs for 26-27. So moving on to medical rates since COVID have skyrocketed. Anthem rates, there are major plans that we have, but the two most enrolled plans are Anthem and Kaiser, and most of these are enrolled by employee only. So the rates you're seeing in this chart are the employee only rates. And the Anthem rates have increased on average 12% since fiscal year 21-22. Kaiser rates increased 8%. Since these premium increases go into effect January 1st, I assume I build a half. I average is 10%. I incorporate 5% assumption for medical in our forecast. And as I stated, the rates displayed are for employee-only plans. 26-27 is projected based on historical trends for Anthem and Kaiser. We have currently 10 employees enrolled in health plans, 7 of which are employee-only. We have 3 employees that are independents on theirs. Now, employees do pay a portion of the, but it's for employee only. The town pays 97% of the premium, whereas with the employee only or the dependents plans, it's a 67 to 68% contribution towards medical. And this chart shows how much we paid in medical premiums over since 21-22. And as I said earlier, we're looking at about a $27,000 increase in medical premiums for 26-27. And again, this is all dependent upon number of employees who have enrolled, which plans they enroll in, and whether we have vacancies next year or not. So, but this is just based on current enrollment and current trends on premium rates over the next fiscal year. So looking at contract services, we have some town services are supported through contract providers and consultants. For public safety, it's San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. For police services, Woodside Fire does provide some fire services in regard to wildfire mitigation. Also, dispatch services are provided by San Mateo County as well. In planning and building, we have consultants augmenting staff for some town work, but providing most of the services for our project applicants. And those services are paid for by the project applicant. And then subscriptions. Subscriptions are becoming a major expense just because in the way the subscription-based models are, the pricing changes. It's now, before it used to be you pay upfront for an implementation and then an annual cost, but now they seem to have spread the implementation cost out over the term of the initial contract. And so good thing for us next year, the one-time costs we implemented or we did for OpenGov this year with planning and building, we're not going to have that cost next year. It's just going to be the subscription cost, but it will be an increase from what we were paying from Energov. So looking at the sheriff's contract, for fiscal year 26-27, we're looking at $197,000 increase in the contract cost. However, the impact to the general fund is going to be $508,000. And part of that, or the reason for that is one, the $197,000 increase, two, factoring in the $211,000 expired credit. And then also last year, we used the remaining ARPA funds of $100,000 to pay for the sheriff's contract. So combined, it's a $508,000 increase to the general fund. There are other funds that we use to offset some of the costs for the sheriff contract, the public safety sales tax, but that's only about $17,000 because we only receive so much per year in that. And the other is the COPS grant. We usually do about $150,000 to $160,000. I might be able to increase excuse me, more out of the COPS grant fund, but I have to be careful because there's a maintenance of effort requirement that our general fund has to pay for so much of our service. Otherwise, we could be supplanting the general fund source or general funding for the sheriff's contract and replacing it with either COPS grant or the public safety sales tax, and we're really not allowed to do that. Looking at Woodside Fire, excuse me, looking at from 21-22 or 2021 through 26-27, there was a significant increase in costs in 22-23. That was a result of the aftermath of the CZU fire, where the town entered into a contract with the fire protection district to clear out fire mitigation days, and those were 80 days per year. Prior to that, they were doing significantly less. I don't know the exact number of those days in those earlier years, but it went to 80 days starting in 22-23. And then 25-26, we went from 80 days to 60 days. And then for 26-27, we're still looking at 60 days for fire mitigation services. Looking at our capital improvement plan. So I'm just giving an overview of the CIP. We're having a CIP session next month. So I'll have more detail on our CIP projects. But this was the CIP as approved as of the mid-year budget. $920,000 for roads and right-of-way, $900,000 for street resurfacing, $20,000 for storm drain repairs. The Ford Field bathroom, there's $51,000 approved, $45,000 from the Park and Lieu funds, and $6,000 from the remainder of the Parks and Rec Committee budget. And then town courts resurfacing was $35,000, and that was moved to PV fund, so that's why it's under the grants fund. Open space, there's the Valley Oak Trail bridges, $50,000, trail rehab of $25,463. And it's normally $20,000, but we have $54,63 left over from the Shady Trail donation from last year. So that amount's being added to trail rehab. And then for building and facilities, town hall energy efficiency upgrade, which is a grant, town hall IT upgrades of $50,000, and then schoolhouse IT upgrade of $100,000, which was also a PV fund project. So $1.295 million for our CIP plan. However, even though we have a one-year CIP plan, the town does need to develop either a 5-year or a 10-year CIP plan. CIP capital improvement plan is basically, it's a multi-year roadmap, helps prioritize and manage capital projects. It outlines the organization's long-term investments in infrastructure, facilities, and equipment.
Tony, you might want to be a little closer to the mic. I think you're starting to
like swallowing this.
There you go. Just get it right in front of you.
Okay.
Rather than decide.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm going to hit it with my nose. There's effective budgeting and resource allocation tool, and it aligns strategic and comprehensive plans with fiscal capacity. It's also a working document and should be reviewed and updated annually. It defines the difference between maintenance and capital improvements and informs the residents about the town's investment in infrastructure, facilities, and equipment. So how do we develop a capital improvement plan? So first step, we need to organize the CIP. So we need to engage all the departments, processes, forms, criteria, and schedule. Identify infrastructure needs, equipment replacements, facility improvements. And then from there, we need to go to step 2, identify the projects and funding options. Step 3, prepare and recommend a capital plan and capital budget. And throughout all 3 of these steps, we're doing stakeholder outreach. And also at the end, council does approve the capital plan. And then step 4, adopt the capital budget, which will be identified in the capital plan. And there will be no surprises each year with as long as we have a capital improvement plan in place. So here's the chart, the fiscal forecast. Looking at some of the lines, the red line is expenses, the green line is revenue, the blue line is our reserve policy level, and the black line is our general fund reserve. And as you can see, there's a structural deficit. Our expenses are exceeding our revenues, about $700,000. And just the increases I identified in my presentation, $508,000 with the sheriff's contract, $27,000 in medical, $30,000 in another $27,000 UAL. So there are some baseline adjustments each year that are beyond our control. And they also exceed the growth of our revenue. This year's budget we adopted, and with mid-year, the deficit was $263,000. Just with the sheriff's contract alone, that deficit now goes to $763,000 for 26-27. There are some costs that we can, the one-time costs this year, we're not carrying over to next year. Those will come off for next year. So we're still looking at between a $700,000 to $800,000 deficit for next fiscal year, just with what we've identified in this project, in this presentation tonight. So looking at the fiscal forecast, structural deficit, $700,000. Without new revenue, corrective action on the expense side would impact council priorities. So financial responsibility, long-term viability, safety, operational efficiency and effectiveness, and community. So these would be, if the revenue measure doesn't pass, if we don't receive new revenue, we will have to make up the deficit on the expense side. I'm not looking for priorities or direction tonight on these, but if the need comes to that point, then we will have a priority session after the election. And these are some of the items that will be strongly considered to keep the deficit from going out of control. One would be to reduce personnel. Obviously, the priority impact on that will be operational efficiency and effectiveness. 2, suspend town committee and nonprofit funding. Priority impact would be community. Reduce staff development. Priority impact would be operational efficiency and effectiveness. Cap consultant hours in building and planning. Priority impacts would be operational efficiency and effectiveness, community, and responsible land use. Reduce fire mitigation services. Priority impact would be safety and community. Reduce sheriff services as much as we can. The priority impact would be safety and community. Don't have hard numbers for these yet, but the number that we would need to get to is 700,000. But as I stated, if the revenue measure doesn't pass, we don't receive any new revenue, this will be the process for the mid-year budget in February of 2027. So that concludes my report. I give it back to council for discussion and direction. And again, the only direction we're asking for tonight is whether to incorporate COLA and a merit increase into the budget. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tony. So I'd like to organize this around clarifying questions for Tony. Then I'm going to go to public comment. Then I'll bring it back to the council for discussion. So are there any questions for Tony on the presentation?
Yes.
Judith?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead,
Um,
please.
Yeah, Tony, early on, you represented the town priorities, but they weren't in the order I recollect. So if you want to bring that slide up, I want to clarify that. Okay, thanks. So my recollection, like we came up with six in a particular order, and I want to clarify for the public what the order was. So I recall fiscal, safety, operational efficiency, responsible land, community, and environmental sustainability. So I want to be very clear on that because it then impacts, you know, the degree or the discussion on the 700,000 deficit later on. So can you confirm that, please?
Yes, but the order on the slide, it's left to right, left to right, left to right. So financial responsibility is first, safety is second, operational efficiency, effectiveness, that's fourth, community is fifth, environmental sustainability is sixth.
Yeah, I mean, my point here is that we spent a lot of time looking at this, and if we change up the representation of it meeting to meeting, it's going to be very confusing. So I agree, right, left, right, left, right, left, or left, right, left, right, left, right. Sorry about that. But I do think we ought to be really careful in future representations of this because I've seen a couple variations, and I think it's got to be our North Star of what the council has priorities around for future discussions. So thanks for clarifying. My other question is for the COLA and merit bonus question that we actually have to comment on. Like, is the choice, like, are you gonna, if we say go ahead and do that at this level or a certain level, you would come back in the future in terms of process and say, here's the trade-offs, or this is just the net negative? What is the next step if we give you feedback that these are things we're interested in?
I would build the workforce plan, which builds up the salaries and benefits in the budget. So I will build the budget that includes, right now it's current salaries. And if you agree to a COLA and a merit, I would build in the merit and the COLA increases into the 26-27 salary schedule. Then use the 26-27 salary schedule to build the workforce plan in the budget.
So, and the reason I'm asking is more stepwise because it may be that my view varies with regard to what the trade-offs are. Is the direction you're seeking? Yes, show us what that looks like, and we'll have another cut at whether that's the right line to draw. Or are we today deciding COLA is definitely in, other budget items to be discussed? I'm looking for more direction on, is this a yes, go ahead and show us what that looks like and we'll get another cut or not?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. The prepayment of the UAL,
Yes.
is there a trade-off with doing that? Is there a downside to doing that?
There's no downside. It just,
Okay.
instead of paying 197,000 or 195,000, we're paying 180 something. It's just a reduction in cost, but it doesn't impact, it's not going to increase the liability. They actually give us credit for prepayment.
And is that something you want feedback on? Because it wasn't the COLA and merit and
Yeah,
bonus.
but it's really not material. It's not a large number. It's
Right.
just an option available to us.
Okay. Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, do you have any questions for Tony?
Could you, in the CIP, I did not see the grant for the EV chargers. So just checking in on that. And I know we don't, I know that we're lacking an update, so maybe that's why it's not mentioned there.
That was deferred to next year.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just current year.
Okay. I have to tread carefully on this. VLF,
Yes.
330,000 is what we got last year, I think.
Yes.
And are we just expecting we're not counting on it this year, right?
So I don't budget the shortfall. I
Right.
only budget what the county says is available. So if they do grant the shortfall, that's just extra for us. But yeah, I don't include that as part of the deficit.
Okay, thanks. And ARPA funds, I can't ever remember what that acronym stands for again.
The American
Rescue or,
Rescue, something, yeah. Yeah, that was after COVID.
right, but we're
We're done with it.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then can you give me the breakdown? The 28% of public safety is what? 28% of the general fund is public safety. Can you give me the breakdown of what fire is versus sheriff versus dispatch?
Fire is about 220 and dispatch is about 77,000. So the majority of it is the sheriff's contract.
And I'm sorry, so 220,000 is fire. And I'm sorry, say that number.
77,000 is dispatch.
Dispatch. Okay.
Yeah, and that number consistently goes up, but it's not a major. Category.
And sheriffs, remind me how much that is again. Sorry, I'm losing 2.5 million. Okay. Okay, great. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Including all
The graph, yeah.
microphone.
To explain again what the policy is that you refer to in that slide, and to show us what it means in terms of our having tightened our belts, but also not just in tightened our belts, but decreased our emergency reserves and
Right.
exposed ourselves to a reliance on the largesse of greater communities,
Okay.
such as the state and the
So
federal government.
prior to last fiscal year, our general fund minimum reserve fund policy was 60%. And we had fallen below 60% in 22-23.
60% of what?
60% of operating expenses,
Thank you.
or general fund operating expenses. So the Finance Committee recommended reducing that number to 20 to give us a little bit more room to actually operate in a deficit for this year as well. But the 20% is the floor. Now council can suspend the policy. If we get into the situation where we're falling below 20%. But that's only to give us a little bit more flexibility. But the overarching trend is that the black line is heading towards zero without new revenue. And then the offset is draconian cuts on the expense side.
And the 20% being the bottom is, that's a
20%
state
of-
regulation?
But no, that was our policy that we
Yeah, but
adopted.
there's no state,
No, it's
or
just a best,
county.
just a best practice.
right? It is a best practice.
It is
The
a best
state established.
No. It's financially, it's
Tells
one of the best
cities.
practice. Government Finance Officers Association recommended that,
20%.
well, not 20%. There's different levels. It's whatever level an agency is comfortable with, because some have 3%, 5%, but it could be it's 3% of $100 million reserve. So it's based on your reserve level, what level you're comfortable with, that you can still operate and still meet contingency needs or emergency needs.
My point being that it appears we've already exposed ourselves to risks by decreasing our percentage by.
We were out of policy. We were out of compliance with our policy.
Exactly.
So we were already exposed, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Rebecca?
Yes, thank you. For the question about the staff and the cost of living expenses, the cost of living increases, isn't a COLA already part of the contracts for most of the employees, or is that?
We have no contracts.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't have bargaining groups or anything like that.
okay.
It's an annual process.
And then on the information that you included, 3.62 average increase since 2022. And then you have the CPI index for San Francisco.
Right.
I assume that's kind of the Bay Area.
Yes.
So 3.62 is the actual average of the government CPI index. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is the CPI index for the Bay Area issued by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the number is the 12-month period ending February, which is ours historically, which we have used to determine the COLA.
And do you have a sense of how much COLA we've given to employees, to staff over the past few years?
We've usually given the amount equal to the CPI, especially the in 22, 23, but the last 3 fiscal years, we've averaged 3%, or the last 2 fiscal years, I'm sorry, we've averaged 3%.
So we did give 5% and 5.3, 5.2 back those first 2 years?
Yes.
And then the last 3 have been about 3%. Okay. And then for the merit, what has been the experience that we've given in the past? I know you said the past couple of years we haven't given anything, but
Right. 'Cause-
every other year before that.
Right, and the folks who received merit aren't, well, 3 of them are here, but they weren't part of they were part of line, but they may have gotten the merit increase once in the last 5 years. But, prior to my arrival and the average tenure of employees now, there's been no merit increase. And so I really don't have anything to measure it against.
For the past 3 years, you're saying?
There's been no merit increase in the last 3.
Okay.
Excuse me, can you bring up the merit slide, please?
And how do merit increases interface with promotions to a new range, to a new level, if you will?
Well, the promotion would be separate. That's a mutually exclusive.
Okay.
But the merit is based on, evaluation. If they're effective, then they're granted a merit increase.
So you're recommending a 2% pool.
Right.
Which would mean that 2% of all the employees' salaries that would be eligible for merit would be put in a pool, and then it would be distributed based by the managers. I assume in some fact it would be kind of put down. Okay.
And we're currently doing evaluations right now.
Okay, great. So under the wildfire information, let's see if I pull it up here. In the past, we have paid Epic, the group that's now called Epic, WPV Ready, et cetera. We used to pay them $5,000 a year, and then recently we were paying them $15,000. Is that included in these expenses?
No, Epic is included with the nonprofit funding request.
Oh, I see.
So it's a separate
Okay.
fund. Well, I
Okay.
mean, still general fund, but it's a different program.
And do you happen to know off the top of your head what the full nonprofit or per nonprofit was?
I believe it was around 25.
So it's minimal.
Yes.
There's nothing in there really that would help us too much. Okay. So under the CIP,
Mhm.
for this year, do you have a sense of if we're going to accomplish any of these this year? We're going to finish any of them?
We've done some of the town hall IT upgrades. I believe the Valley Oak Trail bridges. Some work is being done there. And we are doing some of the street surfacing work has begun. And you'll, so, but most of these projects will probably carry over
Okay.
to 26, 27.
Okay. And we don't know yet because you haven't really gotten to that point yet to figure out whether we need other things, sort of urgent things for
Yeah,
next
we
year.
haven't, yeah, we haven't
Okay.
gotten to that
Like
process.
storm drains and things like that. Okay. And then when I look at the little graph, just for my understanding of it, at each tranche, if you will, each fiscal year, the point on the lines, is that the beginning of the year, the end of the
End of year.
end of year? Okay. And then the other question I have for a town our size that's similar to us, that's in general fund, what would be best practices for in a normal situation where people are not, have a balanced budget? What would be the best practice percentage to put aside for capital improvements? Obviously it's a little bit dependent on how old a town is, or,
Right,
what's-
that would depend on the CIP plan. But again, it would be determined based on policy, based on what the council determines as important. It would be part of if there is a surplus, then how the town divvies up the surplus and what goes into each bucket. Prior to 21, 22, 22, 23, the reserve included 1.4 million that was held for capital projects. That's, that 1.4 is pretty
Each
much.
year?
It
Each
was
year,
never-
or it was, oh, okay, it was
on this-
growing,
It was in
okay.
the assigned reserve. But that assigned reserve was about 3.5 million. And then there was an unassigned portion that made up the rest of the 5 million. But since 22, 23, we had a $1.3 million result of, or loss of, based on Operation General Fund. Our reserve is now below 5 million. So that 1.4 million is actually reduced by whatever the proportionate share. I don't have the calculation in front of me, but it's no longer 1.4 million in the reserve. But as far as best practices are concerned, again, it's going to be based upon some variables that I really can't give you a number on right now.
So it's not like, say, 10% of the budget or?
Well, it would depend, like, you could set that depending on how your activity is. So if you're budgeted and you had, hey, we have a surplus every year and we're going to take that surplus and we're going to start building up some reserves, we can say, if it's a $200,000 reserve, okay, 10% of that can go into capital, 10% can go into contingency, 10% can go into whatever categories the council has assigned.
Okay, so we need a surplus.
Yeah.
Big time.
Surplus.
And this all goes towards, we talked about financial policies at the study session where where we can build, this is how we allocate resources for our reserves. In the case of a surplus or in case of a deficit, what triggers to pull or what levers to pull in that situation as well.
And then you had a couple slides about developing this longer term CIP and all kind of the steps that need to go through it. I just wanted to get a little bit of a sense of kind of staff time that's required to do that? And who would be doing that? Does it fall on your shoulders? Is it fall on the town manager? How does that work, and how much time, what percentage, say, of someone's job would then be devoted to getting that set up the first time?
Yeah, so I mean, we are a smaller organization, so that is a benefit. But it could probably cost somewhere about 60 to 70,000 in staff time. Because you would have, yes, my time would be included. Town manager, not as much, other than to have check-ins with the town manager, here's where we are. But the department heads would be involved. Public works staff would be involved because most of the facilities, the infrastructure, that pretty much falls under public works. And then the other departments would be their equipment needs. So yeah, it would involve quite a bit of time from all staff. But yeah, I would ballpark it around 70,000.
And when typically would such a large, because we don't already have one, and it would just be an update, since it would be a whole new project to do the whole thing, when would you recommend, or when would typically that be done to sort of establish that?
I think with the priorities for next year, this wouldn't start until after the election.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I had a couple questions. The non-departmental overhead, could you give a couple of examples of that just for?
Liability insurance, property insurance.
Okay.
The UAL is funded out of.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Okay, great. The COLA, look like you're recommending 3%. The CPI is 2.5%.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a policy choice on our part of what number we pick,
Just historically, we've done 3 over the last few years,
which is to round. I mean, we're trying to do, I'm assuming, the point of COLA is to basically make sure people aren't falling behind.
Right.
Which is what CPI is supposed to say. So the fact that we're doing more than CPI says we're doing cost of living with a little plus on it. Is that the right way to think about that?
Right, but it's still below the average over the last 5 years. So, I mean, there's some leeway there that, everything may not be captured, but we're still staying ahead of the game.
Okay, but if I understood earlier when you clarified, we gave 5% COLAs when it was 5%.
When it was 5%, yes.
So I mean, if you look at the average of what we gave,
Yep.
we probably are, I don't think we're behind. Is that correct? Like, I think what I'm hearing with the average is if for some reason we didn't meet the CPI, our COLA was less, then eventually you'd hope you catch up, right? So,
Right, but there is precedent that council has given 3 when the CPI was below 3.
got it. Okay. Then can you talk a little about the merit increase process? Like, so we have this pool, which is you're proposing 2% of
Right.
salaries. So now we have a pool of money. Does everybody that's eligible get 2%, or is it basically based on the value that the employee has brought to the town in the last year? I mean, how is that money then allocated out of the pool?
Yeah, it's based on evaluations, if they've been effective in their jobs, and but the 2% pool that's the pot of money that some may get more, some may get less. I mean, but it just gives us some flexibility.
Oh, yeah, and I guess that's my question is, what are the ranges typically that an employee would get out of merit?
It's 1 to 5%.
And I guess then the other question I have is in other towns, I mean, what's kind of going rate in other towns? And again, I'm looking at sort of smaller towns, not, big towns in the
Yeah.
county. Do you have a sense?
In some other towns where they have bargaining groups,
Yep.
merit increases are baked into the MOUs,
Okay.
and it's just.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Do you know roughly the number of Classic employees versus Pepper employees that we have?
We have 4 Classic employees.
Okay. And then everybody else is Pepper?
Pepper, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I used to be Classic, but now I'm Pepper.
Got it. The CIP that you showed.
Yeah.
is that the current CIP or is that what we're proposing for 26-27?
That's the current CIP that was adopted as of mid-year.
Right. And is it what you're proposing for 26-27?
That's, right now, that's the baseline.
Okay.
And then as we go through the CIP process, if there's any changes, then we'll update.
Okay, got it. And then I guess my last question on the fire mitigation stuff, we were doing 80, we're down to 60. I suppose we could go down to 40. I mean, what
Yeah.
are there contractual issues here? Like what controls where we stand?
Yeah, so, well, we had conversations last year and I did ask him and the fire chief, hey, what's the minimum number of days that you can do where it doesn't affect, the outcome of the mitigation? And I believe 40 days was the lowest that they could go.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's all my questions. So now let me open it up for public comment. So is there anyone in the schoolhouse that would like to speak? Bob, please.
Clearly, the big elephant in the room is the sheriff's contract. And I don't know enough about that, so I'm not going to try to claim to be able to modify it. But I did do a couple of calculations. One of them is the sheriff's contract at 2.5 million is $1,350 per household and $550 per person, which seems to me to be a lot of money. And I don't know what you can cut back to make it a lower number. Do we do some contract services with outside providers as opposed to paying the sheriff for some of the services? I don't know. But to me, it's the huge number in the middle of all this that has a lot of fixed capability if you can do something to change the number. The second thing I have is nomenclature, and this had to do with capital projects. And I noticed in the department, it's parks and fields, not park fields and courts, parks and fields. And I don't know why a field would have a priority over a court, but it seems to be based on the nomenclature. So you understand what I'm trying to get to. So that's the reason I'm asking the question. And my concern is, I don't think it has been paid attention historically. So now I'm trying to get the attention higher on the visibility level so that we can do something a little more about it. And I do understand the finances. I'm a finance person, so seeing the black line go down is not something that any of us want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. All right, there's no one else in the schoolhouse. Is there anyone online that would like to comment? We have 13 attendees, and I don't see any hands, so I'll wait just another minute. All right. Surprisingly, we have no public comment. All right, so I'm going to close public comment and move back to the council. All right, so Rebecca, would you like to start?
So the first question, I guess, was about cost of living and merit. So we heard, you said 270,000 this year in the deficit, and next year will be 700,000 without an increase in revenue. It's difficult. To live within our means would suggest that we're unable to do either of those things. But if we do raise the revenue, then of course we would follow staff's recommendations 100% and backdate it to July 1st. In the act of doing that, we are going to have to cut somewhere else in order to reward our staff with extra money. So I don't know at what point we would be making those decisions. At this point, I think to stay abreast of the cost of living, I would recommend a 2.5% so that it matches what's the actual number. because I feel like we have kept up for the past 4 years. We can consider 3% if we do cross the, the revenue measure passes. So we could add the extra and backdate it. As for merit, you said that most of the employees have only been with the company, with the staff for less than 3 years, correct? And,
Yes,
Um,
vast majority.
again, I'm on the side of course, we would give this if we pass our revenue measure, no question about it. And I would recommend backdating it right to July 1st. Without extra money, we're kind of handing out money that we, if we don't pass that revenue measure, then, we're going to be cutting 700,000 out of the budget. And I don't know, I don't want to do it on the backs of the staff, obviously. I guess I would create a smaller pool and really give it to those that merit it, that really have done outstanding work this year. Probably recommend a 1% and give it to those who have not been promoted recently and those who have done outstanding work, I guess is where I would do it. And then if the revenue measure passes, then I would recommend going to the 2% and, giving, having a second merit increase in January. That would be where I would be with that. In terms of the next question, you had,
It was just COLA and merit.
oh, those are only two? You didn't have any other questions? So I guess just in terms of giving some feedback in terms of the presentation in general. So I continue to have kind of issues with the amount of money we are paying Woodside Fire Protection District to do roadside maintenance, because the reality is they're getting, I think, 17.6% of our taxes to run the fire department.
Something about, yeah.
And we're getting 7% of our taxes to run our town. And then we're paying them an additional chunk of change, 270,000 plus the Epic. So almost 300,000 of our budget is going to them on top of the 17.6 they get of our taxes. So I'm not clear on the responsibilities of the fire department versus the responsibilities of the town. And I feel like we need to clarify that a little better, because I think if they were on our staff, if we had our own personal fire department, they would have their budget that would probably include safety measures of clearing some right-of-way brush and stuff. So I think that's a question kind of to have. I know you didn't ask for specific recommendations for reductions. I don't see us being able to reduce our staff at all because we're already overloaded. So I just did want to say that. So that really leaves us with capital improvements, which is very dangerous because the longer you don't do things, the worse shape they get. And then I guess the police contract, we're talking about that. I know there's discussions going on about trying to figure out what number would make the most sense. So I applaud that I encourage to have that the staff continue to have those conversations there, I believe, just so that we can figure out what's the best balance for our safety and our budget, sort of what works the best. That would be where I'm at. I would be open to having maybe some of the hours reduced for the policing, perhaps. I don't know. Again, that's a tricky one, but I do encourage you to continue the negotiations and the talk with the sheriff. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Mary?
I'm working on an analogy to help me understand this whole thing. And I'm seeing us on a raft on a very rocky river, maybe with a fairly strong current. And we have a We have a helmsman, which is our manager, and we maybe are on the lead boat with our mayor as our guide. We got a leak. Okay, and we have to decide how we're going to allocate things to get the old boat down to the pump station. I think you got to take care of the people who are rowing. You got to make sure that everybody's healthy. And you've got to do your best with what you got. And you still are afloat. You got a leak, but you're still afloat. So from that point of view, it sort of makes me think how much sunblock I'm going to put on everybody and how they're going to feel when they get to the end, whether they're still going to be able to do another river raft trip. I think sunblock's really important. And I do think we need to take care of our staff, and people need to feel that they're respected and supported and compensated, and to make the boat keep going down the river. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean we aren't going to increase the leaking if we take on too much, et cetera. So it's a balancing act. And I think we as a group will be able to come up with something that hopefully accomplishes that, keeping a light coat of sunblock on everybody and keep our skills up and keep the boat going until we get to a place where we can make repairs. So I think it's a pretty dire, is what I'm trying to point out. It's not a joke, and it's actually dangerous from lots of points of view, both from the safety of the town, but also from us structurally. And people need to really hear that and be aware of that. And I'm here to say that. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're going to come up with a consensus on a percent for the cost of living increase, and we can figure out what we're going to do about the merit as a group, and it's not going to be easy.
Right. So, but Mayor, that's where we're trying to get that consensus now. So, I mean, are you in favor of a 3% COLA?
I'm not a 3% COLA.
Okay, so what would you?
For a 2%.
So you would prefer for COLA, you're suggesting?
Yeah. 2%.
2%? Okay, and I think I heard, Rebecca, you were 2.5%, which is CPI? Okay, and then merit, where do you stand on that?
I think of merit a little bit differently from Rebecca. I think merit is what gives meaning to the manager's job. It's what makes her job easier, and it makes it easier for her to. She knows she or he knows who deserves it and who doesn't, and it's really not our business. As far as whether I would like to have one, what I really want is to have the manager have the ability to give small merit. I would have to say I do think a small merit allowance would be good. Now, what percent I want to come up with? I don't know that I know what the dollars. Tell me what 1% looks like and what 4%, what 2%.
Yeah, Tony can bring it up.
Okay, I got it. I'm looking at it. 2%. I'm a 2% girl all around.
Okay, great. Thank you. Helen?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the river analogy.
We're all wet.
We're not wet yet.
Rowing down the river, here we go. But the staff are the reason this town has stabilized, right? And losing staff actually is expensive as well as demoralizing. And hopefully they're going to fill our potholes and help, and during an emergency be available to help us, and to try to keep us as safe as possible. So I absolutely support a 3% COLA, and the merit they're asking for a 2% pool, which seems low to me actually. So I was wondering if at 3.5, but obviously everyone else seems lower than I do. We are dipping into our reserves to do other things. It's not ideal. I don't like it. I'm unhappy about it. I do like the idea also of revisiting this in January if the revenue or even, well, it's not certified for 30 days, or December, to ensure that if the revenue passes to, if people are coming in lower, which it does sound like that's the trend, to make sure that, to recognize our staff and for your efforts. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Okay, so I think I captured 3% COLA and.
And they asked for a 2% merit pool.
and was that what-
I would do like 2.5 or higher for merit to give them that ability to recognize the folks who are, keeping us not just afloat, but stabilized and headed in the right direction. You're right. We need to get the town over this November ballot, and to lose more staff potentially right now could really, we have to keep morale up. And we need to make sure that that we have the staff to see us, that we are headed in the right direction.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. Judith?
Yeah, I do want to ask a question about if we, for example, don't do a merit bonus now, is there anything to stop us in December from revisiting this? Like why is it important to get that on now? I know it's X months of missed merit pay, but is there anything stopping us from, as soon as the ballot measure result is known, taking an action on the merit side? Mid-year.
Council can revisit that issue at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
So we're just, the only reason we're asking for it now is because we're building the budget for next year.
Yeah,
If
thank you.
council decides to defer it until after, that's council's discretion.
Yep, thank you. So to me, cost of living is cost of living. I don't know why we're debating what that is. To me, it's CIP, and that's what it should be. And on the merit side, I am torn because I really do want to incentivize people and reward people for sticking the course through a tough year. But we don't have money to spend. We really don't. And that black line is something that I fear, and our costs for the safety components of our budget are skyrocketing. So I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we're in stringent circumstances here. And I immediately, upon a positive result in the ballot measure, I would prioritize a merit compensation framework immediately. But I don't know which way it's going to go right now, and I don't feel like I can get comfortable given where we are to take that leap right now. And Tony, I assume we'll have a sense of the bigger budget in a month or two, and whatever we give you in direction, you're just building the model, and we can pressure test where we are on balance with everything included. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's where I am, cost of living, and I would not do the merit bonus at this point. But I'm torn on the latter and could be persuaded.
Okay, and just so to confirm, so you would do COLA at 2.5?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So I guess my question also goes to merit. You're doing employee evaluations now, but that's for this year. when would you do them for next year? Because we're talking about building next year's budget, not this year's budget. So when do those evaluations typically get done? I mean, would they be sort of, next April or something?
It'll be the same time, right? But their evaluations now would go into effect. They get the merit would go into effect for next year. July 1.
Okay, so you're suggesting if we do fund the merit pool, that these evaluations would be subject to, if you will, that. So, okay. Okay. Yeah, so I struggle with this as well. I feel like, we have a duty to our staff and we have a duty to our residents. So I guess I'm struggling with that. I realize that, COLA and merit is part of retention. And I also think that we don't have extra money to spend. So I think I come out with, I'm comfortable with 3% COLA. We've done it before, and I sort of look at it, if we do 3%, in some sense, it's a little bit of merit. I'm not comfortable, I think, with funding merit at this point. But I think I heard from several other council members, if our ballot measure passes, even though we know that we won't get that money for a while, but we'll know at that point that we're not driving our black line into the ground, because we know within a year or even 6 months that we're going to start backfilling. So I think that's where I come down on that. I mean, as much as I don't, I mean, I would love to say, yeah, let's go for merit, let's go for COLA. But I think that's the direction I would give you. Is that helpful? Got what you need?
For COLA, we have 2 for 3 and we have 2 for 2.5 and 1 for 2.
Yep.
So I don't have consensus on COLA and I don't have consensus on merit.
Well, I guess I would recommend, unless people want to change their mind and go one way or another, I think we just need to see the budget. I'm a little bit with Judith. I don't know what this is going to cost me. Like, this is a little bit like, if we go for 3, what don't we get? And if we go for 2.5, what do we get? And I don't know the answer, right? So it seems to me at some level, we're just, it's pretty hard to tease this out, not knowing what its real impact is.
I have a clarifying question, perhaps. I work within a Scotch, under the leadership of somebody who's very Scotch, and she gets a merit scholar. She's the executive director, gets a merit scholar, gets a bonus situation and doesn't necessarily use it. In other words, can we just say we're going to do the merit increase pool and then leave it to Darcy's discretion whether it gets used or not?
Well, I don't think that's, I mean, either we're going to budget for it or we're not. I mean,
Yeah, you budget for it and then you don't necessarily use it.
Right, but I think the question Tony was at least asking right now was the COLA question.
Yes.
We got COLA at 2,
All right.
2.5, 2.5, and 3 and 3. So,
2.5 seems very reasonable.
right, so let me suggest for now that you
Well,
budget
it's
2.5.
Paying 2.5.
Yeah, so why don't you, let's put in your model 2.5 for now, and then help us understand when we're looking at that budget, if we were to move it up to 3, what the impact of that would be. At least that'll get us something to move forward on. So I'm not making a decision one way or another, but at least that'll give you the ability to model it. Okay. On the merit, I think we mostly heard, but not unanimously, that we would wait for the ballot measure. I think, Helen, you were like, we should do it now, but I think everybody else said 2%. You said 2% now. Okay, so we got.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so then we're all over the place on that one as
Yes.
well. So,
Yeah.
I guess, and please jump in here. I think I'm going to suggest that we do 1% for the budget model, and then we can talk about what the impact would be to move it to 0 or to move it up.
I think though, Becca, you were at 1%, Mary, you were at 2%. I was at 3%.
Right.
What-
It's zero.
0. Judith, remind me what you were at?
0.
0.
So I was trying to get us something, I was trying to get us
About
some merit.
1.5%.
Again,
It's in between.
I don't think I feel,
Yeah.
I don't feel strongly. I mean, we're trying to build a model here. We're not making a decision on the number. So, I mean, I'm okay with 1.5, just to put it in the model, just to have a number, but then we'll have to discuss what the impact is. Is anybody not okay if we do 1.5 for now? Again, I know it's not what everybody wants, but I'm just trying to give Tony a number to put in his model. Okay, so
I want
I'm
to see
fine
what
with
it
that.
looks like.
yeah, right. So, but you're okay, Judith, if we,
We will come back.
yeah, this is not
Yeah,
a decision.
it's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine.
I
Okay.
can build a model with 2.5 COLA and also 3.
Mhm.
And with merit, I can do 1%, 2%. And then
Mhm.
I mean, I think we heard like 1.5. I mean, sure.
1.5.
I'm going to leave it to you. Do you have
enough?
enough information to do it?
I do know.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Council members, thank you for the thorough discussion. Come on. Back to the agenda. All right, so that closes out regular agenda. Moving on to agenda item number 9, which is subcommittee liaison committee regional agency reports. Does anybody have any oral reports that weren't submitted? Not seeing any. We good?
I went to the airport. It was great, as usual. Fascinating. Thank you for sending me there.
As I recall, you volunteered, and Helen's the person that's thanking you profusely because
Thanking you profusely, and I'm swearing at San Francisco that we're not getting any revenue from them.
So, okay, so I think I'm hearing that just so we don't get too far off the agenda item, we have no reports, verbal reports. And it's okay not to have them. You don't feel compelled to.
I actually had a question because whoever's serving on Emergency Services Council.
That's me.
Any idea why they've canceled all their meetings this year?
No, they're back. They're rescheduled.
Yeah.
They're
So
rescheduled.
yeah, I can speak to that. So they changed the email
Email.
address they want to get
I
stuff
can
at.
speak to
So
them.
they canceled all of the things and then they put them all back on. So it was just a replacement, but it looks very confusing. But
It's all
anyway,
good.
it's all good. So, not that I know.
Damn.
Oh, did they go back to Dem?
It's damn on my calendar these
All right,
days.
so we're getting as interesting as this, we are getting a field. I would look for a motion to adjourn. We don't have to vote on this, do we?
I move to adjourn.
All right. So I move that this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.